Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're embarking on a seriously fascinating journey. We're going to bridge the gap between the massive, macroscopic laws of the physical universe and the incredibly intricate, microscopic world of fluid and electrolyte balance inside our very own cells. Now, I know it might seem like a huge leap to go from the physics of the cosmos straight into human biology, but stick with me. As you'll see, it's all beautifully connected by one single pragmatic set of rules. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. Nature's ultimate rulebook. 2. Measuring the physical world. 3. The biology of fluid balance. 4. Osmosis and cellular survival. 5. Electrolytes and vital minerals. And finally, 6. When internal balance fails. Section 1. Nature's ultimate rulebook. The mother of all sciences. So the word physics actually comes from the ancient Greek physikos, which literally just means knowledge of nature. At its absolute core, it's the study of matter, its motion, energy, and force. And what's just so incredible about this is that nature's architecture operates on this strictly pragmatic set of rules. Yet these rules are remarkably beautiful in their simplicity. Whether they are dictating the spin of massive galaxies in deep space or the precise fluid dynamics pumping right now inside your human body, they remain totally consistent and absolute. Section 2. Measuring the physical world. How we quantify our universe. Think about this for a second. All the physical matter in the entire universe can be quantified and measured down to just 7 fundamental building blocks. We're talking length in meters, mass in kilograms, time in seconds, electric current in amperes, temperature in Kelvin, amount of substance in moles, and luminous intensity in candelas. Every single scientific instrument out there, from a basic meter rule measuring length all the way to highly complex diagnostic tools, relies entirely on these 7 pillars of measurement. These are the absolute base properties that just cannot be explained by anything else.
But here's where it gets interesting. When we combine those fundamental units, we get what are called derived physical quantities. You see, you can't measure volume or density directly as a base unit. Instead, you have to calculate them by combining fundamental units like length and mass. For instance, a chemical engineer might use a hydrometer to figure out the density of a liquid, right? They're relying on these derived quantities. And as we're about to see, understanding things like volume and density is absolutely crucial for understanding how liquids behave, whether they're sitting in a beaker on a lab bench or flowing right through your bloodstream.
Section 3. The biology of fluid balance. Our internal universe. So the crucial point is, how does our body measure its inside world? We know perfectly well how to measure the outside world with meter rules and hydrometers, but how do these exact same strict physical laws of measurement, density, and volume apply inside us to ensure our biological survival? It's a huge question.
To really answer that, we have to look at water. Water is the ultimate biological medium for enzymatic and chemical reactions in our body. Its metabolic function is honestly staggering. It is constantly moving nutrients, hormones, antibodies, and oxygen straight through your bloodstream and lymphatic system. You can think of your body as a giant built-in physics laboratory. Because as water does all this complex transport, it is strictly adhering to the physical laws of volume and density. It's constantly managing internal volumes to regulate our temperature through evaporation, like when we sweat, and keeping the whole system running smoothly.
Section 4. Osmosis and cellular survival. The balancing acts of life. Inside that biological laboratory, our cells exist in different states of fluid volume, which we call cellular tonicity. If a cell is in a hypertonic solution, it loses water. In an isotonic solution, we hit a perfectly balanced state. And in a hypotonic solution, the cell actually gains water. Now, our kidneys act remarkably like biological pressure gauges here. They utilize the purely physical process of osmosis to keep our water and salt levels strictly balanced across these different tonic states. They are constantly monitoring and tweaking blood and body volumes to maintain that perfect isotonic sweet spot for cellular survival. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens when those physical volumes aren't accurately maintained. Let's take a plant cell, for example. When it's subjected to hypertonic conditions, it rapidly loses water volume. This triggers a critical microscopic event called plasmolysis. That's the actual shrinkage and pulling away of the cytoplasm. It just goes to show, if the physical measurements of fluid balance are off, the very structure of the cell completely collapses. Section 5. Electrolytes and vital minerals. Vital for fluid balance. To actually maintain that biological fluid and electrolyte balance, we absolutely need vital minerals. Let's look at calcium metabolism, for example. Calcium actively acts as an electrolyte, moving in and out of various body compartments to constantly regulate our physical environment. That is exactly why a balanced diet is so critical here. To get that proper calcium nutrition, you need sources like milk, cheese, green leafy vegetables, soybeans, and fish. When you pair that with low salt and high potassium, this active electrolyte balance literally prevents major physical blockages in the body, things like kidney stones and high blood pressure. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is seeing how differently our physical machinery breaks down depending on exactly which mineral is missing. When you're deficient in calcium, your muscles essentially lose their ability to regulate physical contractions, which leads to severe spasms like tetany. But if you're without iron, which is a key component for oxygen transport, you see a totally different kind of systemic failure: extreme fatigue and dizziness. In both of these cases, just lacking a simple, fundamental physical substance completely derails the body's mechanical and biological operations. Section 6. When internal balance fails. Systemic breakdown. So what actually happens when internal balance fails? Well, when you don't consume enough water, a whole cascading sequence of systemic failures kicks off. Step 1. It begins with a simple, physical drop in internal water volume. Because that volume is lower, step 2 kicks in. The fluid dynamics of your blood alter drastically, triggering severe cardiovascular stress. In response to this, your body basically panics and tries to reclaim any water it can possibly find. And that leads to step 3, excessive absorption of water through the colon, which in turn causes the hardening of feces and severe constipation. So a simple loss of physical volume creates massive, life-threatening biological havoc. So we'll end with this thought to leave you with. We aren't somehow separate from the physical universe. We are a complex manifestation of its fundamental rules. If our bodies are governed by the exact same strict laws of physics, volume and density as the stars in the sky and the oceans on Earth, are you giving your biological system the precise fluid and electrolyte balance it fundamentally needs to thrive? Think about that the next time you pour yourself a glass of water. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.